friends. This is Jesse Juarez, president of the Rotary Club of sunny Seaside, California. You're watching a presentation which was recorded live at one of our club meetings. Seaside Rotary meets twice a month via Zoom. Our meetings feature dynamic presentations by many of the movers and shakers that make Monterey County such a vibrant and hardworking community. If you'd like to join a meeting or learn more about Rotary and the work that we do, you can reach out to Seaside Rotary Club at gmail.com. Again, that's Seaside Rotary Club at gmail.com. You can also connect with us on our Facebook page. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel for more dynamic content.
Perfect. And I'd like to give the floor to Mr. Steve McShane to introduce our esteemed guest speaker.
Well, Seaside Rotary is very, very thrilled to have our speaker today. He's local from the community, having attended Ord Terrace and King Middle School. He's married with two young, beautiful daughters, Coral, 2, and Holly, 10 months. Attended USD, has a degree in accounting, loves golf, though he may not be able to play it quite enough, which is sad to say, given that he works at one of the most beautiful places on the planet, and that's Pebble Beach Company. It's a real important role to manage finance, accounting, when it comes to such a big organization. And today we're going to learn a little more about the Pebble Beach Company and how it's doing. We're coming off a pandemic, and I know the history that the Pebble Beach Company has, not just on the peninsula, but certainly in Seaside, the generosity that we've seen from the Pebble Beach Company and how so many of our residents are employed at the Pebble Beach Company. So please help me in giving a warm Seaside Rotary welcome to Judah Matthews, our speaker today.
Oh, Judah, it looks like we're not getting any audio.
You might be muted there. Let's see. Try that again. Wow. Okay, there we go. We have a minute to buy some time.
There we go.
Hey, Jesse, just for the record, you said I was playing phone tag and then filming the show. Like, you did kind of Hollywood us there for a second. I just want to point out. You said I would have called her back, but I was in LA filming, so.
Hey, that's show business, apparently.
Oh man.
I would just like to say the camera does add about 20 pounds, and there were several cameras on me, so it actually compounds after. That's my
It's the camera. And for those that didn't see it, because I was, look at this front page of one of our local papers. So
wow.
Okay, Judah, if you can hear me okay, one thought would be to call in on the Zoom on your phone, and then you could just do audio that way. Yeah, just tremendous. This is just absolutely incredible way to represent our community, Jesse. Yeah, I thought the fine was $50 and it might be more, so I'm going to save this. I'll have this for you, man.
Front page is way more than 50.
That's the Californian. It's
yeah. Okay.
Yep. And just a terrific article. Yeah. And Jesse's all playing it cool. He's like, oh well, there may be some things, I forget how you put it, like there might be some news or something, and I'm like, oh okay, like I'm trying to
and I texted you. I was like, no, it's a good thing. It's not anything bad. There's no accident or anything like that.
Well, and another warm up to Judah here. Judah's actually involved in the Boys and Girls Club, so he's part of the magic when it comes to the community, and his support there. And I can't believe I didn't mention that. Thank you for your service there. Let's see. Oh, let's see. Judah just sent a chat. He's going to call in. There you go. New computer.
Steve, I as the person responsible for the nomination working with Comcast, I can just say that I only had to like embellish about half the stuff really. And the rest was just easy. The rest was easy for Jesse.
Well, I'll tell you, Jesse, just how this spreads. Like last night, we're sitting there talking about prevention programs. I think you're either going to get a big check or you'll have a shot at a big check. We can talk offline, but this warmed a lot of hearts. It really did. Last night as well. I mean, even members of the public were like talking about it. So it's just really cool.
Can you upload the article?
Yes, thank you.
Oh,
Thank
you know what? Yeah, let me take a picture of it. I'm not that
Yes.
fancy, but yes.
Hey, Judah, can you hear us okay?
I can hear you guys just fine. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Yes. Uh-huh.
All right. Well, during the pandemic, I did about 7,000 Zooms, but they were all on my old computer. I just got a new computer yesterday, and my IT team is still working through a few bugs on it. Apparently, the microphone is one of them.
Gotcha. Well, no worries. Well, hey, we're happy to have you on the call today.
Yeah, appreciate it. So I could hear everything you guys were saying, but apparently the microphone wasn't working. So when the microphone wasn't working, I appreciate no one saying that, geez, Pebble Beach Company, they, real bright guys over there can't even figure out how to use the chat function. Or
Well, Judah, what happens is our president doesn't let your audio come through until your $10,000 donation check clears.
Oh, there you go.
Well, if I'm on behalf of the Pebble Beach Company, I think we have a pretty good track record, specifically at the Boys and Girls Club. So hopefully that'll buy my ticket in.
Oh, and Judah, I did make the settings so that you will be able to share your screen there.
Okay, great. Let's give that a whirl. Try to redeem myself here. Okay. Can you guys see the beautiful picture of Arrowhead Point there?
Oh, yes, we
yeah.
can.
Okay. Okay, so I put together just a brief deck so you could look at something. We have so many beautiful images and interesting images here at Pebble Beach. It's much better to look at those than to look at me. So my name is Judah Matthews. As was mentioned before, I grew up in the area, born in Pacific Grove. My parents relocated here in the 70s. They, met down in the Los Angeles area and were looking for a quieter place to raise a family, and came up the coast and kind of settled into PG. And my brothers and I were all born at home in a tiny little house just up from Lover's Point. And then eventually we moved over to Seaside. As was mentioned, I attended Ord Terrace Elementary School, went on to King Middle School, which I'm not even sure is a middle school anymore, but eventually went off to University of San Diego, went into public accounting, audited companies like Jack in the Box and Jenny Craig, and ConAgra Foods, which is a Fortune 500 company, and then got into the hospitality industry, worked for a publicly traded hotel company, was the vice president of hotel investments, which basically meant kind of flying around the country and meeting with developers and brands and buying and selling hotels, which was, it sounds great on paper, but I did roughly 40 round trip flights a year, would typically fly out Monday morning at 6 a.m. and come back on Wednesday, and that kind of got old, and had the itch to get back to the area, made a bid to come on board here at Pebble Beach Company, and was hired as the director of finance. I've been with the company now for 7 years, was director of finance, was the corporate controller, and then was promoted to the chief financial officer. And it's really just been a great company to work for. I knew growing up in the area and just being able to, come into Pebble Beach and, enjoy the beautiful landscapes and come into the great restaurants. It was always something I really enjoyed and felt a emotional connection to, even as a young person and as a young adult. And, was really thrilled to come back on board and work for the Pebble Beach Company. Somebody mentioned the history of Pebble Beach Company, which is really a rich and interesting story that dates all the way back to the 1800s. But Pebble Beach Company as it's known today, was really founded in 1919 by Samuel Morse. Morse was a back east guy, went to Yale, but really wanted to strike out and make a name for himself, and came out to the West Coast to work with some friends, acquaintances that he had come in contact with, known as the Big Four railroad barons at that time, which were Leland Stanford, as many people have heard of Stanford University. The name comes from Leland Stanford. Mark Hopkins, Charles Crocker, and C.P. Huntington. Many people know Huntington Beach, which that name comes from as well. So Morse gets connected with these Big Four railroad barons, and he convinces them to allow him to kind of run the operations for the Pacific Improvement Company. And as you know, many people know, when the railroads were going across large areas of land, they had to buy up the land that the railroad was going to pass through. And so to improve their investments, they would improve the land that the railroad passed through, and then they would try to sell it off and make the land more valuable once they had secured the railroad passage. And so the Pacific Improvement Company was the holding company that owned most of the land that eventually became the Pebble Beach Company. So when Morse is working for the Pacific Improvement Company, and he's surveying the land and trying to determine what to do with it, he rides horseback onto the property that's now Pebble Beach Company, and he says, I think I want to subdivide all of this and sell sell these as home lots. So if we go back, this is Arrowhead Point, the famous 7th hole at Pebble Beach. There are photos out there, old documents that show this Arrowhead Point with lines, and grids as home parcels. And he originally intended on, selling all that land to individual home developers. That didn't really work out that well. So he figured he needed more of a draw in order to make the land more valuable. And eventually he decides to put a golf course on the location that is now Pebble Beach Golf Links, which turned out to be a much better idea than just subdividing it and selling it as home lots. Once he's got the okay to build the golf course and also a lodge out at Pebble Beach on the golf course, he then decides to put together a group to actually buy basically the Pebble Beach Company and buy 6,000 acres for a whopping price of $1.2 million, which includes the Hotel Del Monte, which is over at the Naval Postgraduate School, and all the land in between. So Morse secures the Pebble Beach Company, and he's the primary owner for 50 years and oversees a lot of really key developments. He's responsible for giving the land to Cypress Point Golf Club as they were building out more homes in Pebble Beach. They built the Monterey Peninsula Country Club, and at that time, that was primarily a military officers community that were either from the Naval Postgraduate School or Fort Ord, and those officers, built a little home subdivision around Monterey Peninsula Country Club, and that was supposed to be a key feature to enable them to sell lots in Pebble Beach on, kind of the Pacific Grove side of the forest. They also build Spyglass Hill Golf Course and many other improvements in Morse's time as the owner. And so he owns Pebble Beach Company up until his death in 1969. At that time, there was a couple of reorganizations of the ownership of Pebble Beach. But since Morse, there's never been a single majority shareholder of the Pebble Beach Company. 20th Century Fox, as many people know, the outfit that produced Star Wars, actually bought Pebble Beach Company in 1978 with the profits from that movie. And Marvin Davis, a key figure of 20th Century Fox, then led a group to buy Pebble Beach Company from 20th Century Fox. He in turn sells the company in 1990 for $841 million to a Japanese buyer. And Isutani had the idea to make Pebble Beach Company, which is a public golf course, so anybody can play it as long as they can, pay the $575, fee. But he wants to turn it into a private club. In Japan, there's really this movement for these ultra elite golf clubs, and he thinks that Pebble Beach is going to be the ultimate example of that. Unfortunately, he didn't have very many conversations with the Coastal Commission of California before he set out on that business plan, because they would never let him take Pebble Beach and turn it into a private club. It has been secured, for a long time as public access. And Don, I think you're still on the Zoom there, but you could probably do an hour-long talk just about all of the requirements that Pebble Beach, in partnership that Pebble Beach has had with the Coastal Commission in allowing public access in the forest. So ultimately, Isutani fails at taking Pebble Beach and making a private club. And so that investment, which is kind of failing for him, he turns over to another Japanese ownership group, Sumitomo Bank and Taio Club. And that Japanese ownership group was a great steward of the company for roughly 20 years. No, that's probably too many. Roughly 10 years. One of the biggest contributions they made is they bought a home that was right between the fourth and the sixth hole of Pebble Beach, and bought the home, leveled it, and actually built the new fifth hole that's right along the water. Before that used to go inland. And so the Japanese were great stewards of the company until 1999, when, as many people know, a group that was led by Peter Ueberroth, Dick Ferris, Clint Eastwood, most notably locally, Arnold Palmer, and our longtime CEO, Bill Peracchi, they formed the Lone Cypress Company. They bought Pebble Beach Company for $820 million in 1999. And it wasn't just those 5 guys. There's roughly 200 partners that are in the partnership. And, as partnership works, they have individual units and ratable ownership in that fashion. But since 1999, it's been one continuous ownership group. And the Lone Cypress Partners, really an interesting group because the primary goal of this ownership group was not to make money, although it's included in the goal, economically sound manner, but to really preserve Pebble Beach as a national treasure and make sure that it will always be owned by an American company, and it will be really continue to be run, just as I said, as a national treasure, to make sure that we're investing it, we're being good stewards of the company, being good stewards of the land, having a great partnership with our community, and allowing people to enjoy what we think is the greatest golf resort on the planet. To that point, we've invested almost $600 million of capital back into the partnership or back into the resort in the 20 years that the Lone Cypress Company has owned Pebble Beach, built new hotel rooms, a world-class practice facility, whereas I actually remember as a teenager, there used to be what was called the old driving range just right down the street from the lodge, which looked like an old kind of dilapidated football field that people used to hit golf balls on, but built a brand new golf facility, a visitor center to really be the hub of the guest experience at Pebble Beach. Peter Hay short course, which is a par 3 course, just opened in the last year and has just been a fantastic venue for people that are new to the game of golf to come to Pebble Beach and enjoy a golf experience that's world class and but a little more friendly for the novice. It's a par 3 course, so the longest hole is just over 100 yards, and the shortest hole is 47 yards. And it was designed with Tiger Woods, and Tiger Woods had strong, very sentimental memories of playing on short courses when he was a kid. And one of the things that was key in his design of the short course was that you could actually, on all the holes except one, you can putt from the tee box all the way to the green. So, if you've got kids or grandkids and you want to expose them to golf, they can go out there with little more than a putter and get around at Peter Hay and just have a great time. So that's kind of a short overview of some of the improvements and investments. Many people know Pebble Beach Company for our championship golf. We have a great relationship with the USGA, which oversees many of America's championships, the U.S. Women's Open, the U.S. Men's Open. We've hosted 13 USGA championships here at Pebble Beach. Most people are probably familiar with the U.S. Open, which has been played at Pebble Beach 6 times, most recently in 2019, and was probably the most well-attended U.S. Open in the history of any U.S. Open. I was actually the finance chair for that Open, and it's a roughly a $35 million build to build out all the facilities required to hold a U.S. Open that is played for 1 week. And it's pretty incredible to see the number of people that came through the gates and came through the golf course and were able to enjoy that championship. And excitingly, we'll be holding our first U.S. Women's Open at Pebble Beach. It'll be in 2023. If anybody wants to be involved in that event, I would highly encourage it. It's going to be our mission for the 2023 Women's Open is to hold the best Women's Open that's ever been held in just kind of all facets, and that's fan engagement, hospitality, experience for the players, basically just all constituents that you can think of. We would just like to knock it out of the park for people to come and enjoy and see, the best women golfers in the world compete at Pebble Beach. And then finally, we have some other special events, the Concours d'Elegance, which is widely considered as the best car show in the world. It's just a really great, everybody's familiar with Car Week. Everybody can hear the petrol around the peninsula all week. But just a great experience. The Pebble Beach Food and Wine, just another great special event that we hold. And finally, in closing, we talk about this all the time, but we have roughly 1,700 employees, and our guests, although they love Pebble Beach golf, they love the views, they love the natural beauty, it's really remarkable that they will repeat over and over again that they come for the golf, they come for the natural beauty, but they come back for the experience that our employees give them. And we're really proud of all our employees. We're so involved with them on a day-to-day basis. It really feels like a family. I know that's a cliche thing to say, but I have roughly 40 employees in the accounting department here at Pebble Beach, and I know so many of their kids and their stories, and we have a Pebble Beach Company scholarship program, and it's amazing to see someone that works in accounts payable, and they have 2 daughters, and their kids are awarded scholarships, and how that helps them and achieve their goals and dreams and so forth. It's really a great thing to be a part of. What I didn't have on this deck here, which I probably should have, but we also have a Pebble Beach Company Foundation. It's the charitable arm of the Pebble Beach Company. And we have, I'm actually the treasurer of the Pebble Beach Company Foundation, and we have been giving over $1 million a year to charitable organizations throughout the Monterey Peninsula. And the goal of the Pebble Beach Company Foundation is to provide enhanced educational experiences for all the youth of Monterey County. So not just children of Pebble Beach Company employees, but all the youth of Monterey County. So we make donations to the Boys and Girls Club, the Salvation Army. In total, roughly 88 charities across the Monterey Peninsula that $1 million is spread across, and that's another thing that we're really proud of to be able to give back to our community, as so many of our employees live in the community. And just the final thing I'll say on that is I'm really proud. We just approved our budget for the foundation for this coming year, 2022, and that $1 million is actually going to grow to over $1.3 million, which will be our highest amount given in the foundation's history next year. So any organizations that would like to do a grant application, we're in our grant application process right now, would encourage anyone to reach out to me or to Susan Murfeld, who is the president of the foundation. And that's kind of my spiel.
Wonderful. Judah, thank you so much for, I have to say, I quite honestly did not know much about the history of the Pebble Beach Company, and it was really fascinating to hear about just the rich history of it and all the efforts that have been made over that history to really preserve its beauty, preserve it as a jewel of the Monterey Peninsula. And I just want to thank you and your hardworking team for helping make that happen. So thank you for all that.
You're welcome. Thank you. Yeah, it's really a pleasure to be a part of this team, and a point of pride to work for a company that really tries to do things in the right way. And I say that with all sincerity.
Fantastic.
Judah, I'd like to add one thing. You may not know this, but with the help of R.J. Harper, who is gone,
Mm-hmm.
not forgotten, the Pebble Beach Company has, because of R.J. Harper and Laird Small and a few others, Mike Sullivan and Jim Ward and a few others from our own club. But the Pebble Beach Company was huge in providing over the years between $250,000 and $300,000 to the Seaside Club for us to give back to the community. Because they helped us so greatly. For a few years, we had our golf tournament on Concours Sunday at Pebble Beach, with the 18th playing as a par 3.
Right.
R.J. Harper did a lot for us, and he did it. Of course, Pebble Beach Company did it for us, and a lot of people don't know that. And Pebble Beach Company didn't pat themselves on the back, but because of them, we over the years have been able to give back between $250,000 and $300,000 into this community. So thank you.
You're welcome. That's great to hear. RJ, I was lucky enough to work with him very closely on the 2019 U.S. Open before he passed, and he's just just an A-plus guy, and I mean, just a legend here at the Pebble Beach Company. Started his career as a golf marshal, which is like the most entry-level position that you can be in the golf division here at Pebble Beach, and worked his way all the way up to be the executive vice president of golf, and one of the most well-known and well-respected people in the golf industry. And it wasn't, that he was the smartest guy in the world, but he was one of the hardest workers, and he had one of the most inviting personalities that you could imagine. And he treated all people with respect. And I certainly miss him every day.
He would even come and play his guitar and sing during the AT&T tournament in the volunteers tent. Him and his buddy, the country singer, and he cared about everybody.
Yeah.
And anyway.
Well, unfortunately, when you say him and his buddy, the country singer, that doesn't narrow it down, because you talk about somebody that started his career as a golf marshal, and we had a ceremony for him here at Pebble Beach after his passing.
Yep.
And George Strait. Clay Walker.
Clay Walker.
I mean, he was friends with so many people, and his position at Pebble Beach allowed him to build a lot of great relationships. But he was almost like a rock star in his own right.
Yeah, it was Clay Walker that he would come and sing with.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you.
You're welcome.
really amazing history, and that even that is brand new information to me. But it's it's really wonderful to see that long-standing history between the Seaside Rotary and the Pebble Beach Company.
Of course,
It is it's 12:40 right now, so we have about I want to say we have about 10 minutes to go through some of the questions. We won't be able to get through all of them, but I really would love to go through some of these. Let's see. First question we have in the chat box window. Judah, can you speak to workforce housing? I know there have been some major investments in housing.
Yeah, certainly, and I can see how many questions there. So I'll kind of treat this as the lightning round. We'll go fast. So we developed a affordable housing complex in the forest here at Pebble Beach, and that was a roughly $8 million investment, 24 units, just really nice apartments that just inside the gates of Pebble Beach, close proximity to Pacific Grove, and we meet all the requirements of affordable housing that the county provides, and we've got a number of they're all occupied by Pebble Beach Company employees, and we'd love to do more of that. We just have to find the right way, but we obviously housing is very expensive on the peninsula, and it's one of our biggest challenges in recruiting, and we're interested in other opportunities in the future, but they're obviously expensive and difficult to do, but we'll continue to look at more ways to do that.
Fantastic. And yeah, we're really happy to hear that Pebble Beach Company is committed to that. Definitely, like you said, a big concern across the Monterey Peninsula. Next question we have here, have a bit of a softball question. Do you see a lot of movie stars?
Yeah, movie stars like to kind of fly under the radar when they're here. So, I think one of the things that makes them feel welcome is they get treated just like everybody else. So, they're definitely around, but, we try to treat every guest like they're, somebody special.
Greatly appreciate it, and I'm sure many of those celebrities probably appreciate that as well. Next question here. This course is consistently ranked best in the world. What do you do with people that come to the course and think they are good golfers, but are complete hacks and destroy the pitch?
Well, again, we try to treat every guest like they're somebody special, even when they're an especially bad golfer. But it's one of the challenges because you got some people on the golf course that want to play in 4 hours, and some people on the golf course that would be lucky to play in 6 hours. And it's like a freeway. When you got a bunch of traffic, you got one person in the slow lane, one person in the fast lane. Unfortunately, there's only one lane, so you got to try to keep them all going at the same pace. So that's a challenge, but our golf marshals do a great job.
That's wonderful to hear. What event tends to draw the largest crowd and bring the most money to the community?
The U.S. Open, by a long shot. It's a bigger event by a factor versus all the others, and it's just because it's the cadence is more like once every 10 years that it's played here at Pebble, versus the AT&T, which is every year, and versus the concours. The concours really has taken on a life of its own and has turned into Car Week. So we're just a part of that now. So it's probably the U.S. Open by a factor of a couple times, and then it's hard for us because we're just a part of the concours, but you'd have to look at some other economic reports for the entire peninsula, but my guess is the concours would be number 2.
Well, seeing as how much it affects the entire peninsula. I mean, it's not just one event. Like you said, it's the week. It's it is the event. Our next question here. I know you've spoken to this a little bit already, but what is it like working for the Pebble Beach Company? I've heard so many positive things from employees and former employees. What makes it so great?
Yeah, I think it's the expectation level of what our guests are expecting when they come here. And, we're obviously an expensive resort. It's an expensive stay. There's a reason why we sell hats that say bucket list, because a lot of people, it's a bucket list with a check. There's a lot of people save up, and this is a big ticket item for them. And so when they come and they're dropping their hard-earned dollars, the expectation for what they want to receive when they're here is very high, and so we have that same expectation for our employees to deliver that experience. And so people that want to have a great career, they want to be a part of something special, they want to feel proud of what they do on a day in and day out basis. I think they get that by coming here and being a part of such special experiences daily. So if somebody doesn't want to work very hard and they don't want to, have great hospitality or, deliver great hospitality, this is not the right company for them. But I think, as I said, we have roughly 1,700 employees, depending on, how you count, salary, part-time, on-call, et cetera. But, that's a big part of our community that, they're just wonderful people. And I think, when you meet an employee of Pebble Beach Company and you're out in the community, my guess is you're going to have a good experience when you interact with one of those people, because that's the kind of people that we want to be a part of Pebble Beach.
Wonderful. It's great, always great to hear when a company's an organization like yourself, appreciates that sort of hard work, because it is hard work, and you're absolutely right. If you're not, if someone is unwilling to give that 100%, then it might not be a good fit. Next question we have here: how did you guys make it through the pandemic?
The pandemic was especially hard on hospitality. With the travel restrictions, and then restaurants were shut down. You could do takeout only. Hotels were closed. It was one of the hardest years for a lot of our veteran employees, from entry level all the way to the top at our CEO level. It was one of the hardest years of most people's career. When we initially closed at the beginning of the pandemic, out of our 1,700 employees, we had around 150 to 200 working. And those are engineers, the people that were making sure everything was being maintained, our gate guards, because we have gate access and security, things like that. The accountants kept working because we still need to pay bills and keep the lights on and things like that. But just personally for me in the accounting area, I have a team of roughly 40 people, and we got all the way down to roughly 10 for many months. I think our company did the best that we could. We let people go negative on their vacation balances so they could continue to get wages. We had to furlough many employees. We chose to furlough most of them and not lay people off, although we did have a small layoff that we just had to do. But that was a small percentage. We continued to pay for everyone's health benefits throughout the pandemic. So typically our health plan, which is non-contributory, so nobody pays in on their paychecks to cover their healthcare premiums. The company covers 100% of that. So when they weren't working, we still continued to pay for that. And just thought in the world that we were in, with healthcare being so important, given that it was a health pandemic, we just thought it was important for everybody to have healthcare throughout. The thing that was the silver lining is that golf was kind of deemed to be COVID safe because you were outside, you could distance. So we were able to open up our golf courses pretty early on in the pandemic, and that allowed employees to, a big chunk of our employees to come back to work. And then we could start selling them takeout food, and then we could open the restaurants and be socially distanced. So we just kept creeping back and bringing more and more employees back over time. But it was a challenge. It was the worst year in our company's history financially. But there was so much pent up demand. I think we might have one of the better years in our company's history. On the other side of it, the next year or the year following. So we're trying like heck to get more employees back. We haven't ramped all the way back to being fully staffed. We're having job fairs on a regular basis. We're trying to get employees in a number of key areas. We've done a lot to try to attract people back, but I think there's kind of a labor crunch that many of you are probably feeling or aware of, not just on the Monterey Peninsula, hospitality industry as a whole, and America as a whole. So hopefully that'll correct itself here in the not too distant future.
Well, there's definitely a lot of difficult decisions many organizations, many businesses had to make. I definitely commend you and the Pebble Beach Company for all your efforts to try and stay the course. No pun intended regarding golf, but to stay
well done.
to stay the course and to really take care of your employees. I know it was a difficult time, and really happy to hear that the Pebble Beach Company is seeing an uptick in business. It is currently 12:51. So I think we'll have to wrap up the Q&A session as of right now. I apologize to everyone. We couldn't get to your questions, or couldn't get a chance to answer your question there. Judah, thank you. Thank you so much for being here today. We really appreciate you speaking with us. I definitely appreciate learning about the history of the Pebble Beach Company and its longstanding history supporting the Monterey Peninsula and just being an integral part of this community. And like I said earlier in the meeting, really a crown jewel of the Monterey Peninsula. So thank you for all your hard work, and thank you for being part of this.
Yeah, well, thank you. As mentioned earlier, it's really a community partnership, and our goal is to be a community partner, and hope to continue to do that to the best of our abilities going forward.
Excellent. Well, Judah, thank you so much. And I'm going to go ahead and end the recording function.